What if the biggest fear of the world's wealthiest families isn't losing their fortune, but the children who are set to inherit it? You've probably heard the statistic: 70% of wealthy families lose their fortune by the second generation, and an astonishing 90% are back to broke by the third. This isn't just a number on a spreadsheet, it's a human failure. It's the story of a legacy crumbling to dust, of opportunity wasted, and of capable people raising kids who just aren't. But a select few, the old money dynasties who measure their wealth in generations, not just years, have a different playbook. It's a lifelong training program designed to forge responsible guardians, not spoiled heirs. And it all starts long before a single dollar is ever handed over. This isn't about teaching kids how to be rich. It's about teaching them how to think, how to act, and how to carry the weight of a legacy. So let's pull back the curtain on this hidden world and reveal the 7 pillars of how they do it. Pillar number 1, the foundational mindset: legacy over luxury. Long before the first trust fund is drafted or the stock market is even mentioned, the most critical lesson is taught: a profound shift in mindset. In the world of old money, the guiding mantra is legacy over luxury. This isn't some catchy phrase, it's the absolute bedrock of their entire philosophy. New money thinks about accumulation. How much can I earn, buy, and show off? The focus is on the amount. Old money, on the other hand, thinks about stewardship. They don't see themselves as owners of a great fortune, but as temporary caretakers. Their number one job isn't to spend the wealth, but to protect and grow it for the next generation and the one after that. This completely reframes wealth from a personal toy into a generational responsibility. So how do they actually instill this? It starts with the family story. Kids are taught where the money came from. They learn about the great-grandparent who took the first big risk, the sacrifices that were made along the way, and the disasters that were narrowly avoided. The money isn't a magical lottery win, it's the result of grit, discipline, and struggle. This history gives the wealth context and gives the heir a sense of duty. They're not just inheriting a bank account, they're inheriting the next chapter in a long story. This is reinforced in day-to-day life. While we might imagine a life of private jets and constant extravagance, the reality inside many of these families is one of surprising restraint. The culture is all about understatement. Flashy logos and over-the-top displays are seen as tacky, not because they can't afford it, but because it misses the entire point. It signals that you're focused on spending, not preserving. A child quickly learns that the goal isn't to look rich, but to be a responsible steward. The lesson is clear. You're not defined by what you buy, but by what you're trusted to protect. This is a deep psychological shift that changes the entire purpose of money. It's not for personal pleasure, but for family continuity and community impact. The goal is to raise a kid who, when they finally inherit, doesn't ask, "What can this money do for me?" but instead asks, "What is my responsibility to this money?" This shift from entitlement to stewardship is the single best vaccine against the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations curse. It's the invisible foundation that holds the entire dynasty up. Pillar number 2, the early curriculum, from piggy banks to portfolios. The financial education of an old money heir isn't a single class or a boring lecture. It's a carefully planned, lifelong curriculum that starts almost as soon as a child can count. The guiding idea is simple. Financial literacy is way too important to be outsourced to a school. It's a core family duty. It starts with the absolute basics. A piggy bank isn't just a toy. It teaches the first crucial lessons. Money is limited, and you have to make choices. But the lessons get more complex, fast. Allowances aren't just handed out, they're often tied to chores, creating a direct link between effort and reward right from the start. This isn't about paying your kid to make their bed, it's about showing them that work creates value, and money is just a symbol of that. As the child gets older, the piggy bank turns into a youth savings account. They learn about making deposits and the quiet magic of compound interest. At home, the dinner table conversations go deeper. Parents hammer home the difference between needs and wants, building crucial discipline. A kid might get a budget for their own clothes or school supplies, forcing them to make trade-offs. If they blow the whole budget on one pair of hyped-up sneakers, they learn a valuable lesson in financial planning when the stakes are still very low. By the teenage years, the training wheels really start to come off. Most families push their kids to get a part-time job, not because they need the cash, but for a dose of reality. Bagging groceries, waiting tables, or being a camp counselor teaches humility, respect, and a real appreciation for how hard it is to earn a dollar. It's a powerful inoculation against the delusion that money just magically appears. At the same time, the financial lessons get more serious. This is when they might get a small practice investment portfolio to manage. Using a few $1,000s of real money, they're tasked with researching stocks, making their own investment choices, and then reporting on how they did at family meetings. This makes the world of investing less scary and teaches them about risk, diversification, and long-term thinking in a controlled sandbox. They learn to read a balance sheet, not just social media headlines. Throughout this whole process, the core values are hammered home again and again. Saving isn't just about buying something later, it's about building freedom. Investing isn't a casino, it's about owning a piece of economic growth. By the time they're a young adult, they've already had a nearly 2-decade-long apprenticeship in money. They don't just get the numbers, they get the mindset. The slow drip, hands-on approach ensures that when they finally see the family's real balance sheet, it's not a corrupting shock, but a familiar territory they've been training their whole lives to navigate.
Pillar number 3, the burden of responsibility, instilling stewardship through service. In the old money mindset, massive wealth isn't a privilege, it's a burden. It's a weight of responsibility that an heir has to be trained to carry with purpose. Just teaching a kid how to read a stock chart isn't enough. They could manage a portfolio perfectly and still be a self-absorbed, useless person. The antidote to that is instilling a deep sense of stewardship, and the most powerful way to do that is through service. This training starts early, and it's not optional. It's woven into the family's DNA. Just like kids learn about the ancestor who built the business, they also learn about the family's generations-long commitment to a hospital, a university, or local food bank. Philanthropy isn't treated as an afterthought, something you do with leftover cash. It's presented as a core purpose of the wealth. It provides the answer to the haunting question that many heirs face: why me? Why do I have all this? The answer becomes to serve. The methods are hands-on. A young child doesn't just watch their parents write a big check. They're taken to the soup kitchen the family supports to help serve meals. They might spend a summer volunteering for the conservation group the family foundation funds. This direct exposure is vital. It grounds the abstract idea of charity in real-world human connection. It bursts the bubble that extreme wealth can create and fosters a sense of empathy and humility. It teaches them to look everyone in the eye and treat them with respect, whether it's a CEO or a janitor. As they get older, their involvement gets more serious. In their late teens or early 20s, they might be invited to sit in on the family's foundation meetings. They start as observers, maybe tasked with researching a small local charity and making a case for a grant. This does two things. First, it's a real-world lesson in due diligence and decision-making. Second, it forces them to think critically about impact. Where will this money do the most good? How do we even know if we're succeeding? This process helps the heir find their own purpose. While they're taught to respect the family's historic causes, they're also encouraged to find causes they're passionate about themselves. The family office might give them resources to research their own interests, whether it's climate change, arts education, or medical research. This empowers them to build their own identity within the larger family legacy. They learn that wealth is a tool that can actively shape the world for the better. This focus on service has a huge psychological benefit. It's the ultimate cure for the aimlessness that can come with inheriting a fortune. When you're responsible for a mission, your life isn't just about you anymore. You have a duty to others. The burden of wealth transforms into the honor of service. It becomes a source of motivation, not guilt. By training heirs to be good stewards for the community, these families ensure they'll become good stewards of the fortune itself. We've just unpacked the first 3 pillars: shifting the mindset to legacy, building a lifelong financial curriculum, and instilling the burden of responsibility. These are the deep, internal frameworks that build an heir's character. If you're starting to see that this is about way more than just money, then stick around and make sure you're subscribed. Because next, we're moving into the tactical, real-world pillars that old money families use to test, train, and ultimately pass on their wealth. This is where the theory gets real. Pillar number 4, the Great Apprenticeship, earning before inheriting. One of the biggest myths about old money kids is that they just sit around waiting for a trust fund to kick in. The reality is usually the exact opposite. A core pillar of the old money playbook is what we can call the Great Apprenticeship, the non-negotiable rule that an heir has to prove their own competence in the real world before they get any significant control over the family fortune. The inheritance isn't a birthright. It's a responsibility you have to earn. This whole philosophy comes from a deep-seated fear of entitlement. The parents or grandparents who built or stewarded the fortune know exactly how much discipline, grit, and skill it takes. They understand that without a real challenge, without a chance to fail and succeed on your own terms, a kid will never develop the muscles needed to manage wealth, let alone lead a happy life. They know that giving their kids a life without struggle is the fastest way to raise someone who can't handle one. The apprenticeship can take a few different forms. First, a college degree isn't optional, it's the bare minimum. But it's what comes after graduation that really counts. Heirs are almost always pushed out of the nest and told to go build their own career. They have to find a job, earn a real salary, pay their own rent, and live within their means for years, often a decade or more. The career choice itself can be flexible, but the expectation of excellence isn't. Whether the heir decides to be a doctor, a software engineer, an artist, or a teacher, they're expected to take it seriously and be a professional. They have to learn how to deal with a difficult boss, hit deadlines, and navigate office politics without calling mom or dad for help. This period is critical. It builds real confidence. Someone who knows they can make it on their own develops a sense of self-worth that has nothing to do with their family's money. It builds resilience. They face rejection, deal with failure, and learn to solve their own problems. And if the heir does want to join the family business, the path is often even tougher. They're told up front they won't be getting a fancy corner office. Instead, they start at the bottom, working in sales, in the warehouse, or in an overseas office. They have to earn the respect of their coworkers and prove they can actually add value. This process not only teaches them the business from the ground up, but it also proves to everyone, the family, the board, and the employees, that their eventual leadership role is based on merit, not just their last name.
This whole apprenticeship is also a long-form audition. The senior generation is watching. How do they handle pressure? How do they treat people? Do they have a work ethic? An heir who proves to be lazy or arrogant during this time might find their access to the family fortune seriously limited. The message is simple and direct. We will give you every advantage to get you started, but after that, you have to prove you're worthy of this legacy. You earn your own name first, then you can earn the wealth. Pillar number 5, The trust fund paradox, a tool for control and training. The term trust fund is probably one of the most misunderstood ideas in the world of wealth. In movies and pop culture, it's a magical pot of gold, a blank check for a life of lazy luxury. For old money families, a trust is the exact opposite. It's not a tool for freedom, it's a tool for control. It's the legal weapon they use to enforce all the values of discipline and stewardship they've spent a lifetime teaching. Wealthy families almost all use trusts, but not in the way you think. Forget the movie trope where the spoiled heir gets everything on their 21st birthday. Real-world dynasty trusts are incredibly complex legal structures designed to protect the family fortune from being squandered and to continue the heir's training long after the parents are gone. The genius of the old money trust is its use of conditional, staggered payouts. An heir might not get a dime of the principal until they hit certain ages. For example, they might get access to 1/3 at age 35, another third at 45, and the final piece at 55. This structure prevents a young, immature person from getting their hands on a life-ruining amount of money. It gives them decades of real-world adulting to gain wisdom before they have the power to make a catastrophic mistake. Even then, the distributions are often tied to specific life achievements, creating a powerful set of incentives from beyond the grave. A trust might include a clause that matches the heir's earned income. For every dollar they earn in their career, the trust will distribute a matching dollar, powerfully encouraging them to stay in the workforce. Other clauses might release funds specifically for a down payment on a primary home, for education, or for seed money for a legitimate business plan, which has to be pitched and approved by the trustees. On the flip side, spendthrift clauses are built in to cut off funds if an heir develops a drug, alcohol, or gambling problem, protecting both the heir from themselves and the capital from creditors. The trustees are the gatekeepers. They aren't just paper pushers, they are the guardians of the original vision. The trustee is usually a professional firm or a board of trusted advisors who have a legal duty to follow the rules of the trust. They act as a firewall against an heir's bad impulses. If an heir wants $1 million to start a terrible athleisure for dogs brand, the trustees have the power and the obligation to just say no. This forces the heir to justify their financial decisions to a room full of experienced professionals, creating a built-in mentorship structure. It's a paradox. The trust gives the heir complete financial security, but at the same time denies them absolute control. It guarantees they'll never be poor, but it also ensures they can't be reckless. The trust is the ultimate tool for teaching delayed gratification. It is the legal expression of the family's core belief. The wealth doesn't belong to you to be spent. It belongs to the family to be preserved. Pillar number 6, the family office, the command center of generational wealth. For families with truly massive, multi-generational wealth, a will and a basic trust just won't cut it. The complexity of their assets, businesses, real estate empires, art collections, and global investment portfolios requires a professional, centralized command center. This is the family office, maybe the most important and least known piece of the entire old money puzzle. A family office is basically a private wealth management firm whose only client is the family itself. Its one and only mission is to preserve and grow the family's wealth across generations. Think of it as the family's own private CFO, COO, and Chief Investment Officer all rolled into one. They handle everything from sophisticated global investing to tax law, estate planning, risk management, and running the family's charitable foundation. What the family office really does is professionalize the act of being wealthy. It takes the day-to-day financial choices out of the hands of emotional and sometimes irrational family members and puts them in the hands of a dedicated team of experts. This team operates with a 50 or 100-year horizon, thinking in terms of generations, not quarterly returns. But its most vital role in preparing heirs is education. The family office is the formal training ground where the next generation goes from being a clueless kid to an active, responsible owner. The process often starts with a kind of financial onboarding. Around their late teens or early 20s, an heir is brought into the family office for a series of meetings. The professionals walk them through the entire family enterprise, the history of how the wealth was created, the legal structure of the trusts, the details of the investment strategy, and the mission of the foundation. For the first time, the heir gets a clear, unvarnished look at the sheer scale of the assets and the responsibilities that come with them. The next stage is hands-on involvement. Heirs are often given junior roles on a committee, like serving as a non-voting member on the investment board. Here they have to read the dense reports, listen to the expert debates, and learn the intense process that goes into every major decision. It's a masterclass in high-level thinking.
The family office also serves as the center for family governance. It organizes the regular family meetings where all generations come together to review performance and align on the family's vision. This forces transparency and creates a sense of shared purpose. It's a safe space for the younger generation to ask dumb questions and voice their own ideas, ensuring the family strategy can evolve without abandoning its core values. Ultimately, the family office is the institutional memory of the family. It makes sure the principles of the person who created the wealth are still being applied decades later. It provides the discipline and professional rigor needed to survive the complexities of modern finance. By slowly integrating heirs into this command center, old money families turn the vague idea of inheritance into a hands-on apprenticeship in stewardship. Pillar number 7, the unwritten rules of communication, privacy, discretion, and unity. The final pillar, holding up the entire old money structure, isn't about money or law at all. It's about communication. In these families, the way you talk about money, or more importantly, the way you don't talk about it, is a huge part of your training. A deeply ingrained culture of privacy and discretion acts as both a shield from the outside world and a tool for building character. The first and most important rule, taught to kids as soon as they can speak, is simple. We don't talk about money. You don't talk about how much your family has, and you certainly don't ask what anyone else has. This is partly for security. Talking about wealth attracts all the wrong kinds of attention. But on a deeper level, it reinforces the value of understatement. If your net worth isn't a valid topic of conversation, you're forced to develop a personality, a sense of humor, and relationships based on who you are, not what your family owns. The second rule is the flip side of the first. While talking about money to outsiders is forbidden, structured and transparent talk inside the family is mandatory. These families hold regular, formal family meetings, often run by their family office. These aren't casual chats. They're serious meetings with agendas where investment performance and philanthropic strategy are openly discussed. This constant dialogue prevents secrets and nasty surprises, which are the main cause of family feuds when a patriarch or matriarch passes away. It allows the older generation to explain their intentions clearly, and it gives the younger generation a forum to ask questions and feel like they're part of the team. The third rule is about composure. Heirs are taught from a young age that controlling your emotions is a sign of strength. In meetings and in public, they learn to speak calmly, to listen more than they talk, and to handle disagreements with grace, not shouting. The belief is that the loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. Real authority comes from quiet confidence, not volume. This discipline in communication is seen as a direct mirror of financial discipline. If you can't control your words, you probably can't control your spending either. Finally, there's the crucial conversation about the end. Old money families don't shy away from talking about death and inheritance. They frame it as a conversation about continuity and legacy. Heirs are walked through the wills and trusts long before they're activated. They're introduced to the family's key advisors, the lawyers, accountants, and trustees, ensuring a smooth handover not just of assets, but relationships. This demystifies the whole process, removes fear and suspicion, and solidifies the heir's role as the next link in a long chain. By mastering how they communicate, these families teach their children that privacy is power, Transparency builds unity, and quiet confidence is more powerful than any flashy display of wealth. So, how do old money families really prepare their kids for inheritance? As we've seen, it's not one thing, it's a complete, lifelong system. It starts by rewiring their brains to value legacy over luxury. It's built on a practical education in finance that starts with a piggy bank and ends with a portfolio. It's given a soul through philanthropy, which turns the burden of wealth into the honor of service. It's tested in the real world through the great apprenticeship, where heirs have to earn their own success before they can inherit the families. It's enforced by the legal genius of the trust, a tool for control, not indulgence. It's professionalized by the family office, the command center that provides discipline and continuity. And it's all held together by a strict code of communication based on privacy and transparency. This entire system is designed to answer the most dangerous question any heir can face. Why should I get out of bed in the morning? A world focused on pure consumption doesn't have a good answer, but the old money playbook is designed to instill one from birth. They get out of bed to honor their family's past, to prove themselves in their own career, to guide the family enterprise, to serve their community, and to become a worthy guardian for the next generation. In the end, the secret is that preparing the heir is never really about the money. It's about forging a person of character, purpose, and discipline. It's about creating someone so capable and mission-driven that the wealth, when it finally comes, is just another tool for them to do the work they were trained their entire lives to do. The goal isn't to create rich kids, it's to create capable guardians. And in that, you find the key to making a fortune last.